Hello, welcome to History Chats. Hey, I realized we had a second camera here. Now you can see who's talking. We're gonna be jumping in here with the first of a month-long theme here where we're gonna look at some places you should know. We've done some of these in the past, I think, some versions of this, but we're gonna a whole new slate of new places that we're going to visit over the course of the next month in our weekly programs. So with that, I think looks like everything is working. So I'm gonna turn it over to Gary, and he'll bring us to today's program.
Thank you, Ben. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, today, as Ben said, we're traveling around Marathon County again in little bits of history throughout some of the areas around Marathon County that we think are interesting. Today, we're going to visit Athens, Wisconsin, Athens in Marathon County, or in the early days it was called Black Creek because of the creek flowing through that area. So you wonder, well, what about Athens? Well, that's in what Louis Marchetti, in his History of Marathon County in 1913, wrote, one of the youngest but the most populous and most active of all villages in Marathon County is the hustling village of Athens. So with that kind of an introduction, let's talk a little bit about their history. It's an unusual history, and we'll talk about this a little bit. But first of all, where is Athens? So we're in the northwestern part of Marathon County, right there. So if you're traveling on 29, you turn right at Highway 97, head north, and then you will be finding your way into the bustling community of Athens. It's there. So we begin with Frederick ReBrock, one of the more important persons in the history of Marathon County. If you look at his life and his influence in the history of this area, he did this pretty much by himself. Wassa had the Wassa group, Macmillan Brothers in town of Macmillan, but it was Frederick ReBrock who came into this area, which we'll talk about a little bit, But he sort of created this unto his own, and I think he is a very important person. He's one of those people that if there's going to be a Marathon County group, ReBrock would certainly be a part of that, an important person in the history of Marathon County. But anyways, let's back up a little bit. This starts with a law firm in Milwaukee, especially when Mr. Lawrence Halsey joined the law firm of and then it became Johnson, ReBrock, and Halsey. Of course, Frederick ReBrock, a part of this law firm in Milwaukee. So this is sort of a partnership that developed, and but of course it was ReBrock who really was the dominant person here in Marathon County. Again, Frederick ReBrock, Lawrence Halsey, and D.H. Johnson were the three lawyers that combined to greatly influence this northwestern part of Marathon County. This is a picture of Mr. Halsey. I was not able to find a photo of Mr. Johnson for this program, but he was also very influential in partaking of the development of this part of Marathon County. So let's just take a little bit of a look back in 1878. This is pretty much the towns of Marathon County. So if you look up at the northwestern part of Marathon County, you'll see the development of what the towns as we know them. So The town of ReBrock came into existence in 79. Halsey up from that in 83, and then Johnson again in 83. So Halsey, as we see it in this map, was later split into two towns, but at this time it was the Halsey was two towns together. But again, we see towns named ReBrock, Johnson, and Halsey based on that law firm again in Milwaukee. So it was Frederick ReBrock who came here in the late 1870s and a legal matter, I believe, coming into Marathon County, and he took a great liking to it. He decided that this was really going to be a prosperous area. He saw the white pine. He saw this development really starting to happen. Now, this is in the 70s, 1870s. We have a little bit of a perspective. The rail line coming up from Marshfield up through Spencer, hugging the northern line of Marathon County and Clark County, was coming in the early 1870s. But to the east, in the town of Berlin, that development was already starting in the 1850s. So this was sort of an uncharted area of Marathon County that Mr. ReBrock was coming into. And he really found, as this article originally from the Milwaukee Sentinel states, this was in 1884. During the past few years, Mr. ReBrock of the law firm of Johnson, ReBrock, and Halsey of this city has taken an active interest in bringing to the public notice the resources and advantages possessed by northern Wisconsin. I have no interest in the subject, said Mr. ReBrock, a reporter yesterday, beyond which every good citizen should have, furthering his general good of our own state and of the people who come from foreign countries in search of fortunes. So again, he was a great promoter of this area. Being in Milwaukee, he was able to advertise for immigrants coming into this part of the land. Originally, going back to the late 1870s, he, like I said, he liked the land. He developed a road between Dorchester and what we will soon call Black Creek. So he was involved in this part of the Marathon County for quite a few years, beginning in the late 1870s. So this is a map, again, just a little bit of a reminder. This is a map of those three towns, and Athens, Wisconsin is sitting right in the middle of it. The rivers are coming, Black Creek, we have a lot of rivers, and at that time, with the lumber industry going as it was, the importance of the rivers to bring lumber to the mills was quite important. So having a strong creek there was very important for the development of this land. So early on, in the late 1870s, and it was first plotted as Black Creek Falls. So this is an early map of what would soon become Athens. It was called Black Creek, like I said before, because of the Black Creek flowing through there. Eventually, it would change to Athens. But again, the town is starting to take place, and it was Frederick ReBrock again, still very active in the development of Athens. He was not only there at the beginning, but he continued his role throughout all of this. And one of the areas that he soon was quite developed was a mortgage was placed at the Register of Deeds office in Marathon County on 10,000 acres of land in that county owned by Fred ReBrock of Milwaukee. It was supposed the money is being raised to build the Abbotsford and Northeastern Railroad. So again, the great influence of railroading in Marathon County, and Mr. ReBrock realized this, that to bring all the pine, to bring all the products of this part of the land to the larger cities, it was really important that a railroad be built. So he built basically the Abbotsford and Northeastern Railroad. And then eventually this article that about the working with the folks in Wausau and development of the railroad coming into the coming from Black Creek Falls to Abbotsford. That was the closest line connecting with the Abbotsford and Northeastern Railroad, that the county would raise some monies for the development of this railroad, and Mr. ReBrock was right there with that development. And a map of 1900 can show you the route from Abbotsford up through the town of Holton, Johnson, winding its way up into Athens. This is a map of 1900. I just want to give you a little bit of a sense of what 15 to 20 years did to Athens at this time, quickly growing. Again, Mr. ReBrock was very intent on bringing in immigrants, people from Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin into this Athens and the surrounding towns. Of course, the Polish people, German people, a little bit southeast of Athens, of course, was Poniatuski, a heavily Polish area. I think we've talked about that before. But Athens sort of took this Polish, German immigrants really head on, and it really was sort of a focus of Mr. ReBrock's determination to bring the people into this land, not only for the village of Athens, but also for the farming that was going to be going on in the surrounding towns. So let's look at Athens in so what do we see? Well, we see that Frederick ReBrock did own a lot of land. He had his mill along the river here, the mill pond, and we see a street, Helendale. It's really a misprint. It's really just one word, Helendale, which was his large farm in Athens that raised excellent, great quality Guernsey cattle. And that was all at the Helendale Farm. It really put Athens, Mr. ReBrock, pretty much on the map for the great Guernsey cattle that he was raising in Athens. This was, here is Marana and William Herbach. Marana is Frederick ReBrock's daughter. She married William Herbach. They met at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and they were sort of the tenants who would be coming up to Athens and running the ReBrock empire in Athens. Mr. Herbach would eventually take over the businesses of the lumber business, the bank, and a variety of other businesses that Mr. ReBrock had. but it was Mr. Herbach that kept, that was really the main, living in Athens, managing all of the interest of Frederick ReBrock here in Athens. Coming a little bit in the middle of Athens at this time, so in 1900, the cemeteries were already laid out. But again, with the theme throughout the history of Marathon County, the immigrants coming into into this part of Marathon County. What we find here, as what we found throughout Marathon County, is that they soon established their churches and also schools. Trinity Lutheran here in Athens, of course, since then it's been modernized. This is an early picture of Trinity Lutheran, an early church, as you can see by the date, a very early church here in Athens. Also then in 1886, Holy Redeemer Catholic Church, of course, that moved across the street, and now it's St. Anthony's Catholic Church in Athens. Trinity and St. Anthony's, the two long-standing churches, early immigrants settling here in Athens and building these two churches. Of course, many churches have developed in Athens since then, but I think these were the two of the really early churches here in Athens. And then later on, a little bit to the south again, we see a lot of land owned by Frederick ReBrock in 1900. The development of this city continued, and eventually it became a very bright spot. I think that as Athens continued to grow, the wood, the farming, it became that center of hospitality, of commerce, of entertainment in that northwestern part of Marathon County, describing it a lively, enterprising village located on the western part of Marathon County, broad and well-kept streets, substantial businesses, blocks, and fine residences making fine showing. So again, I think this is a great headline, a great evidence of what Athens was continuing to be in the 1900s. And just sort of a little bit of a commentary on the population of Athens as it up through a few years ago. Pretty much the same, continued pretty much the same, that it grew a little bit into the earlier part of the century, but then it pretty much stabilized, and it's just lately into the 2000s, it's growing a little bit. So again, a great stable community serving that part of Marathon County. Again, this is an historical picture. I think it may be the fair. Of course, Athens is known for the great Athens World's Fair. They take great pride in their fair, and there are other businesses in the community. Hartman's grocery store I should really say Hartman's merchandise store was a stable store in that community for many years, and it had a lot of other ones also that served that part of Marathon County. But then in 1906, I'm taken a little bit aback by this, because the Wausau pilot, after everything of Frederick ReBrock, age 76, a well-known lawyer and formerly for many years one of the leading breeders of high-grade Guernsey cattle in the United States, died from a stroke of paralysis in Milwaukee. So again, this is an obituary really in Wausau. I think Frederick ReBrock's history in this county really should be magnified a lot, because I think it really he deserves a great deal of testimony to what he did with regard to bringing people, first exploring the land, then eventually developing the land, and then started to bring people into the land. Was an incredible story. Like I said before, he is of one person that pretty much took upon himself that task, and Athens today is a great testament to that fact. So Athens is also about, in the modern era, I just wanted to bring into a little bit of a testimony about Assemblyman Ben Reilly, who died 70 years in 1967. Perhaps one of the more, I want to say, outstanding, notable assemblymen of Marathon County, a very great voice of agriculture, great voice of cooperatives, a large voice throughout Marathon County and Wisconsin. Of course, his great story is because of his bitter fight against Oleo. He was as the headline says, Assemblyman Reilly 70, enemy of Oleo is dead. And his story with regard to DDT, the story with regard to Oleo, he is quite an accomplished legislator in the state of Wisconsin, and then he was from Athens. So this little obituary from the Capital Times in 1967. So with that, I can't give enough story, really. I mean, the story of Athens continues to, throughout its history, is marked by a lot of individual stories. But in a brief moment, I just wanted to present to you Athens, this little community in northwestern Marathon County that has certainly a unique history. As we look at places around Marathon County, a lot of those places have unique stories. And Athens, the towns of ReBrock, Halsey, and Johnson, all part of that story, of course. But and Frederick ReBrock stands out as that. But again, we have a lot of unique stories about a variety of different places in Marathon County, and Athens, Frederick ReBrock are all a part of that. So with that, I'll turn it back to Ben.
Yeah, awesome. So there you go. There's Athens. Everything you probably wanted to know, and well, maybe not everything, but a lot of stuff. So just to kind of put an ending here, I can tell you that the next program coming up next week, like you said at the beginning, we're doing some places you should know. So we're taking a little journey across the county. So we've hit Athens. Next, we're heading to Rib Mountain. So Gary will be back next week to talk about that landscape or landmark that everybody knows and can see from such a long distance, and the importance that it's had to the communities around it. Yeah, even have a graphic. So there you go. That is the program for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you're still watching, yeah, and we'll have a good week. We'll see you next week for some more history chats.